Episode this, episode 10. Mackenzie Hughes, another stellar Canadian player on the Canadian Tour. Mac, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I can't complain. So let's begin. Mackenzie Hughes, where are you from? In Canada, obviously. And then where are you, with the COVID-19 going on? Where do you live right now? And are you able to touch a club? Or how are the restrictions where you're at?
Yeah. So I'm from Dundas, Ontario, and right now I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. And yeah, the COVID-19 is affecting us, but we're still able to golf with the proper guidelines in place. Flag stays in, no rakes in the bunkers. So I feel fortunate in that sense that we're able to play and be on the course. Now, saying that, I did take 4 weeks off once we got news at the players that we were going into this kind of quarantine / I don't know what you want to call it, lockdown. I knew we were going to have a lot of time off, and I pretty much thought, this is going to be my off season right now. So I used that time to take a pretty good chunk of time off, and so I've played a little bit now in the last week or so. But just kind of trying to shake some of the rust off and get back on the grass.
Very good. And then you, who got you started in the game? How did you start? How old were you? And take me through maybe your junior years and amateur years a little bit.
Yeah. So my parents got me started when I was, I think I was about 7 years old, and they were just kind of starting to get serious. We're playing a bit more, and one day they just decided to bring me along. Sorry about that. They brought me along, and they had a little cut down driver for me and a cut down putter, and so it was just like I'd tee off, pick the ball up in the fairway, drop on the green. It's a great way to play golf if anyone out there is wondering. Started there, and then from junior golf on, I played mostly in Ontario, did some traveling, but not too much. I didn't really feel like, we definitely didn't have like the excess means to be doing a lot of travel to the United States, and I knew how expensive a lot of that stuff was. So played limited, maybe a few tournaments in the States, but that was about it. But did enough to kind of get the attention of Herb Page at Kent State, and knew some great Canadian guys that had gone through there. Actually, one of Quebec's own, JP Paymont, was a player at Kent State. Dave Markle was there, Brett Cairns. So I knew some guys that were there and going through there. John Mills, Ben Curtis, obviously the obvious ones that you can think of. The list goes on and on. But anyways, got to Kent State, and had a great 4 years there, and and then from there obviously I turned pro, but Kent State was a really great experience for me. I wouldn't be where I am if I hadn't gone to Kent.
Now, why do you think there's so? Because I interviewed David Moreland earlier. I can think about Danny Saul. Why do you think there's so many Canadians that are recruited to play at Kent? Is it because it's close to the border, or?
Well, there's that a little bit, but I think Herb Page was one of the first coaches to really start recruiting up in Canada. Other coaches caught on after he started to get some, good Canadian talent. He got John Mills and some guys like in Moreland, and I think people started to realize what he was doing. But I just think, Herb being Canadian, his kind of connection to Canada, really starting that connection with like some of the guys that he first brought in. Like he really brought in some great players early on, and then I think it just really, like I saw the guys before me, and those guys saw the guys before them, and there was always like a strong kind of pipeline of guys going through there, whether they were Canadian or American. But yeah, I just that drew me in. I know Markle fairly well, and he did a fair bit of recruiting for me when he was playing at Kent State and I was 16, 17 years old. Herb told him, hey, put the bug in his ear. I want this kid to come to Kent State. So, it was great. I mean, I think that Herb's recruiting definitely changed the way those coaches look at Canadian players now. I think before it was like, oh, those guys, they can't be competitive, they can't be that good, but they're starting to realize that there's lots of talent up in Canada, and hopefully that continues to keep growing.
Absolutely. Now, what year did you turn pro, and was it straight to the Canadian Tour, now Mackenzie Tour, or they named the tour after you, by the way?
Yeah, that was nice of them. But, I turned pro in 2013. I stayed amateur.
So that was first year of PGA Tour Canada.
Yeah. But I stayed amateur in the fall of I finished school, stayed amateur to play in the World Amateur, and then actually took a crack at PGATour Q School in its final year.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a chance, I guess you could say, to play my way right onto the PGA Tour, and actually, I played actually decent. I played pretty well at first stage, and back then first stage was really, when it was PGA Tour Q School, I think it was a much harder test right out of the gates. You had to play
absolutely
well, right? And I played pretty well, and that last day, came down the last hole. I made a really clutch par putt that I thought was going to make it, and I waited around for an hour to miss by one shot and one guy.
Oh God.
So right away you learn what pro golf is like, right? You put in your your $5,000 or whatever it is, and
Mm-hmm.
See you later. Thanks for coming out. So the following year I started out playing some mini tours as I waited for Canada. My first year was now the Mackenzie Tour, and so I played well up there. Given that it was a short season, had a nice stretch of golf for 5-6 weeks, and to win the Order of Merit. So all of a sudden, I'm thinking that okay, golf's not yet too bad, and obviously I had a great year, so I was feeling pretty good. But then, I was trying to do too much stuff, and I had big years, listening to a bunch of different people, and everyone wanted to give you advice, and you're sometimes listening to caddies that don't even know you, but they think, oh yeah, it's an 8-iron, and you're just like, I don't think it's an 8-iron. And anyway, you learn a lot in that first year.
Yeah.
I learned a lot. It was so much difference for in my second year, being that it was like all kind of new places for me, where Canada kind of felt a bit more comfortable.
More like exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, you just felt a bit more connected in Canada. But so anyway, I had a hard time that second year on the web, and I went back to Canada in 2015. Kind of, I wouldn't say reinvent myself, but I just kind of got back to what I was doing before, and I just kind of felt like I just need to remember what got me there in the first place. And so I went back to Canada and played well, and that fall I got through final stage of Web Q School. So then I was back again to the web in 2016. And at that point, again, I felt like I had learned a lot from my first go around, but I was still, out of the gates. I wasn't quite getting the results I was hoping to get, and got off to kind of a slow start. But then things kind of turned around in the middle of the summer, and they really happened. It happened quickly. I had a top 5, and then 4 or 5 weeks later, after a couple other good finishes, I had a win. And that was enough, because back then it was on money. And so I won an event that actually had a slightly bigger purse, which was kind of nice. And the amount of money I won put me over the threshold that would have got my card. And so it was weird, because, I mean, at the end of the year on the web in 2016, I I was still kind of, I guess, fighting for my Web Finals berth, that top 75. I was kind of on the outskirts looking in, and then all of a sudden you have your tour card. So it was like a really weird, feeling at first, because I was like, you're not expecting to, win that particular week, or, lock up your card when you're, just trying to get into finals. And then, things came together that week, and I played some great golf, and then, got my card. So that led me to, that was the fall of 2016.
Then fall 2016-17 was your first PGA Tour season. So obviously, it started out quite well for you. Tell us about your Sea Island experience.
Yeah, I mean, got off to a good start that fall. My very first tournament, I finished tied for 13th, and that really kind of eased me into the season. Like, I played the weekend there with Phil, and played well and held my own. And once I had that finish under my belt, it kind of freaked me up to one, feel like I belong. But just again, when you get out there on tour as a rookie, you're fighting for that reshuffle. In the new year, big factor to get into. So there's a lot of things going through your mind, and leading up to RSM was playing pretty well, but then something clicked to RSM, and obviously I got off to a great start. I shot 61 the first day, and I led wire to wire, and that was difficult to do. Obviously, because every night, you're doing media stuff for the first time, and you're getting attention that you've gotten before, and every night you're going home as the guy that's leading the tournament, and they're always talking about you, and you flick by a golf channel, and it's like, oh, can this rookie hold on to the lead? He's got the likes of Billy Horschel and Camilo Villegas chasing them down, and people are giving their prediction who's going to win. Oh, I think they're going to go with the veterans, or these guys haven't won before, and all this stuff. And so it was difficult.
And it means a lot to a rookie, for a victory, because it's a life-changing, all the perks that come with a win.
Yeah, I think to have that, security, I would say I've never had security in professional golf, and when you have that first win, you definitely have a sense of like, okay, I know where I'm going to be for the next couple of years. That
and in your case, winning early in the year almost gave you, it's almost a 3-year exemption.
Oh yeah,
and I remember vividly, because you were playing directly behind Hubbard and I the first 2 rounds. So I remember watching back, looking at the board, and cheering you on. And Mark and I were talking about it, and it was really fun to be. Obviously, I had no part in it, but I saw most of your shots on that 61. So
no, it was it's one of those weeks that I wouldn't say everything went perfectly, but I felt a sense of calm, even though I was in the lead every night, and had my wife and my mom there in town with me, and the routine stayed pretty much the same every day, and my mom and wife were cooking meals, so we had home cooked meals, and I don't know, just everything about the week was really great. So, but huge, like you said, that to have basically a 3-year exemption right out of the gates on tour. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything more.
When did you receive the Augusta invite?
I knew you were going there next. That came right around Christmas. So, I remember thinking to myself, wow, I've never had a Christmas gift that was so nice before. And when it comes and you see the envelope, I mean, you can immediately tell what it is, and what it's going to be inside it, but it doesn't even seem real. I mean, even to this day, like thinking about getting that in the mail, and it's definitely a pinch me kind of moment, and I'm dying to get back there sometime in the near future.
Were you allowed to? Were you allowed? Is it the Sunday before that you can bring a guest to play with you?
See, I was never under the impression that we were able to bring a guest. But like I went there twice before the Masters, and was able to bring a companion, not to play but to walk with me.
Okay.
So on two separate occasions, I brought. I have a couple different golf coaches, so I brought Derek Ingram and Scott Cowks, and so we went on two different trips around the course, and I played 36 both times. I played at 36. I played like 18 in the afternoon, stayed the night in Augusta, and get up early and play the next morning. And both times I played the next morning, I was first off, which is pretty cool. I mean, to be like, oh yeah, I was first off at Augusta this morning, and played by myself, and so yeah, it's really cool. And it's a golf course that's just unlike any other, obviously for the the obvious reasons, both the golf course and in the history, but it just has like a feeling that's different. Like when you get on the property, it just doesn't feel like a golf course. It just it feels like a lot more than a golf course. So
it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Have you played in any other majors than the Masters?
I've played in a couple of U.S. Opens. I played, so actually my very first year as a pro, I qualified for Marion in 2013.
Ooh, wow.
Yep. And then I played Shinnecock a couple of years ago, and played the PGA in 2017 following my win. So I think that's it. Four majors, and I haven't played a British yet. That's probably the one I'm pretty anxious to play now.
That's I mean, obviously, I've never played in it, but I've caddied in it, and it's of the four events, of the four majors, it was my favorite one, just for the atmosphere, and it was at Royal Birkdale when I caddied, and just an incredible atmosphere. People are so knowledgeable, so respectful.
Yeah.
You don't hear the mashed potato guy out there in England. Well, since I've started doing those videos, like I told you, I get a lot of questions from the public. So let's go with a few. I got a member of mine at Laval, Louis Paradis, wants to know, have you ever fired a caddy, or as a caddy ever fired you? And how do you go about it? Like, is it awkward? Is it
Well, yeah. So to answer your question, I've had both.
You've been fired?
Well, I don't know if you call it fired, but if a caddy voluntarily leaves, I feel like that's basically being fired. Now, obviously, I can have somebody else step in, so I don't feel like I haven't lost my job. It's just I need to find someone else to help me do my job. But yeah, to your point, I have fired a caddy. I have been, in quote, fired myself for, sometimes you go through a rough patch and, guys don't hold on, and that's fine. That's their choice. I mean, I don't hold it against anybody. It's a business. So, it's all good. And then as far as like, is it awkward sometimes? Yeah. But I mean, eventually, things smooth over and, life goes on. It's not, it happens all the time out there. But, I've been fortunate with, I've had great caddies, and, I like them all still. They're all good guys. So I have no hard feelings of any of them. They've all helped me do various different things, and so yeah, I appreciate all of them, and I've got a great one right now. But yeah, it's a business, like I said, and things happen, and sometimes whether it's stuff on the golf course or sometimes personalities, whatever. Sometimes things just don't work out, and things come to an end. But I think when you look at the caddy player relationship, the fill and the bones and the Hurricks and the fluffs, like those are more the exception than the rule.
Yeah.
There's not many that go 20, 25 years with a certain caddy. So, but anyways, it's it's part of the business, and it happens.
It sure does. Jean Valiquette wants to know, why do you pick certain events and leave others out? Obviously, I wanted to ask you that question since you were lucky enough to, we spoke about like your 3-year exemption.
Yeah.
Once you did your first go around the PGA Tour courses, what are the reasons why you pick one out, and are there courses you just know beforehand that you're not going to do very well, so you just try not to go?
Well, it's funny. I don't think I knew. I think it takes, well, for me personally, I think it takes a 2 or 3 year cycle to truly feel like you could, sort through the schedule and be like, yeah, I don't perform as well here, or this course doesn't fit my eye quite as well. Cause I don't want to just give a course one chance and say, it's not for me, So, like the first year I played Colonial, I played terrible, but like, it wasn't like I didn't like the course. I was playing bad.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to go, can't come back here, because last year I played there and was in the final group on Sunday, and it's a course I love to play, but I obviously need to be playing well to play that course well. So, and if you're a little bit off, you can be exposed pretty quickly. So, I think it took me a little bit of time to figure that out, but now there are definitely courses I will avoid. I don't play the course at Mayakoba that well. Doesn't suit my eye that well. It's too like, it just,
every time you miss a shot, it's in a hazard.
Yeah. So I just like Colonial, I like because it gives you options. Like, obviously it's a huge benefit to hit the fairways, but if I don't hit the fairways, I can still play shots. I can still make pars if I'm smart and hit good recovery shots, which is still a part of the game in my eyes. At Mayakoba, you don't really get the chance to hit recovery shots. It's like, take your drop and
it's like where you've played so well, the Honda Classic, the Champions course. That's another one. It's another one that you got to bring your A game, because if you're off, it beats you up.
The difference between, like, for me, Mayakoba and the Honda, like, to me, the Mayakoba sometimes feels claustrophobic. At the Honda, I never feel like I'm confined too much. Like, yeah, there's really demanding tee shots and approach shots and all that, but it never really seems like it's pinching you in too much. And at the same time, I feel like almost all of those holes give you a place to miss. They always give you like a little bit of a bail. At Mayakoba or some other places, like, they don't give you that option. It's just like trouble on both sides or whatever. So, but yeah, so I think I've gotten to a point now where I realize certain courses are better for me than others, and I think I'll continue to learn that as I go along, and also courses will change and they'll find different host sites and all that stuff. So it'll be a constantly evolving thing, but yeah, it's definitely important to pick the right courses that fit your game the best.
Absolutely. Now I got my good friend Sebastian. It's more a family, being a dad. How do you balance the family life and the tour life? Because it's a very selfish game, if I can use that term. Golf is always about you, and so does the family travel with you? Do you use, like, I was talking to Roger Sloan. He uses the daycare system that's out there on the PGA Tour often. So does the family travel with you, or are you sometimes 3, 4, 5 weeks without seeing them?
No, so the family travels, and the most I've ever done is 2 weeks, and that was only one time. I've done 2 weeks by myself without them, and I like having them around, but also there's certain events it doesn't make sense for them to come to, and things come up with like family events and whatnot. So sometimes my wife will take my son to something else that makes more sense than, say, going to a one-off tournament that's, somewhere in the Midwest where, we'd be going to and from, back, like just going there and coming back home right away. So they might go do something else in the meantime. But, I'd say 90% of the time or more, they're there. And, and we use that daycare system, and it's great. It's a huge help for us just to, for my wife, one, to get that small break in her day where, she can collect her thoughts and not have someone, clinging on to them at all stages of the day. And but yeah, I enjoy having them out for sure. It's we're fortunate to be able to travel together and for them to experience this with me. When I first got my card, my wife was unsure whether to leave her job or not. And I told her, like, I was going my rookie year, and I'm like, I don't know, how long I'll play on the PGA Tour for. I'm like, this is my rookie year. It could be the only year I play. And I told her, I'm like, I think you should quit your job and come travel with me. And, if it doesn't work out, then at least we did it together and we experienced that together. And she put in her 2 weeks notice the week before I won. So, so it worked out.
I bet it does.
I love having them, and it's a fun thing to do together, and the balance is important, but I try to make sure that I make enough time in my weeks to do some fun stuff with the family too.
My good friend Gigi wants to know, it's another caddy question. What's your pet peeve, or what's the most annoying thing a caddy can do to you? Obviously making noise or stuff like that, but are there, like the caddy that's really, really intense, that tells you the yardage, tells you the club, tells you the shot shape? Like, have you had one of those over your years? Or
I haven't had one of those over the years, but I think that's a good question. I think, and this is so personal, I guess, to every individual, but and I haven't had this happen too often, but the times where, like, you're in between clubs and you're on one club and they're on another club, but like it's like the other side doesn't want to compromise at all, and like I'm feeling strongly that it's one club and they're at another, and and we're fighting over a few yards here or there, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm probably going to hit a better shot if I take the club I want to take. And
that's what I was going to say. I'd rather have you make a good swing with the wrong club than a bad swing with the right club,
Exactly. So I think that's kind of one of my pet peeves, is like sometimes a caddy could be so set on getting you the right club versus the club that you want to hit. And, whether I hit it, to 40 feet or, I missed the green, but if I feel like I made a good swing with the club that I wanted to hit, chances are I'll make a better swing, and I can usually live with the result that way. But like, if you're telling me, hey, Mac, it's a 9-iron, just hit it, and I hit it and I'm not quite fully into it and I hit a bad shot, well, it's going to probably not sit that well the rest of the day, where, maybe I made a bogey or something more costly than that. And so that's probably one thing I can think of off the top of my head. But, I know I do some things myself that probably bug caddies too. So it's just everyone can find something, but if it's not a huge deal, I generally don't say much about it.
Richard Sweezy wants to know, obviously you've been paired with Tiger Woods before. How'd you react? What was your reaction, your initial reaction once you got the text that you were playing with Tiger? Did you sleep well that night? And also he wants to know, once you're on the course, like, does that throw you off your routine? Because there's so many people, and obviously they don't care when you're hitting. They're just watching him. So tell me all about your experiences with Tiger Woods.
Yeah, so the first time I played with him was the Players Championship in 2018. And what was funny was, not only was I waiting to see, because I finished and my name was next to his on the leaderboard, so I knew there was a a 50-50 chance on the weekend I was going to play with him. But it was also in making the cut was also in jeopardy as well. So I, just squeaked in the cut. I finished I think I was T60 or T69 the Players that year, which would have missed the cut this year. But made the cut on number, and when I got that text about 10 minutes later, my heart starts racing, like in a good way, but just wow, this is going to happen. I'm going to play with, my childhood idol, the best golfer of all time, in my opinion. So all these things start going through your head, and obviously my phone starts blowing up, and people are, going crazy about, the fact that I'm playing with Tiger. And, I went to bed that night, excited. And I would say I slept okay, but I was one of those days where you hit the alarm and you're right out of bed and ready to go. Some days maybe you hit the snooze button for 5 minutes, but I was right out of bed ready to go. And you get on the golf course, and I was prepared for a day that was going to be very chaotic. But I think the day that I played with him for the first time proved to be, more chaotic than any other day probably in recent memory, because he was 8 under par through 11 holes or 12 holes, and was just absolutely tearing the course apart. And I was playing pretty well. I mean, I definitely held my own and was playing well, but obviously he was the show and everyone was there for him. But I hit some cool shots, and it was a lot of fun to play in front of that crowd. But I just remember thinking at one point in the back nine that there must be 8,000 people on every hole on the back nine. Every single hole was just 12, 15 people deep. And, because everyone was thinking, wow, he might shoot something stupid low. I mean, as he got lower and lower and we got into that 12th, 13th hole, 14th hole, I mean, people thought, wow, this guy might shoot 62, 61. Who knows? He was on a crazy tear. So, the crowds were just insane. And it was just a really cool day. I mean, I think, people have asked me all the time who the favorite golfer that I play with on the PGA Tour is, and I would say Tiger every time, because
didn't you hole a 70-footer on a hole? I think I remember that.
Yeah,
didn't you make a bomb on a hole?
I think it was 75 feet, and
yeah, I remember that.
I've got a pretty fun picture of him smiling at me after I made the putt, and I'm kind of giving him a little smirk, and I've got it kind of framed in my house. And just, it was a really cool day, and we had some fun moments. And obviously, I think he goes through a day like that and thinks probably more positively of the experience, because obviously he played super well. So if he looks back on the day that he played with me, he goes, oh yeah, we had a great time. I shot 65 and played awesome. And so yeah, it was a really cool day. Super nice guy to play with. You wouldn't guess by playing with him that he's won 82 times. He talks with a normal kind of demeanor and respect. So that was really cool. And yeah, he just. But again, I kind of caught myself at times being Tiger's fan out there. You're kind of watching him yeah, he made it. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I mean, good putt.
Did you keep the scorecard?
I didn't keep the scorecard. That actually would have been a cool. I didn't even think about that.
You can probably ask for it because they keep them.
Yeah, I'm sure they have that actually. That would be a cool little memento as well actually. But that's a good idea. I never thought about that, but I might do that one time. But yeah. So that was a really cool day, and I've been fortunate enough to be paired with him one more time after that. But again, I kind of relish those moments, and I feel like it's kind of why you play and practice, is to have that kind of atmosphere and that opportunity. But obviously, I'd love to do it late on Sunday, but Saturdays are pretty good too.
Yeah, we've never been paired with them. I remember last year I caddied for Hadwin at Riviera, and the entire weekend we were in front of them, the group in front of them, and that's very difficult too.
I think that's the word. I think if you're behind them, it's no issue at all because everyone's run way ahead, so you're not really seeing much. I mean, there's a little bit extra movement, but like being a group ahead, everyone's running forward to get the spot on the next hole, and they don't care about you at all. Yeah, that's no good.
No. All right, rapid fire question.
Okay.
The worst shot you've ever hit in your PGA Tour career.
Oh.
And Mac, the reason I ask that is because a lot of and I say this in every interview, a lot of our viewers, all they see is like the top 10 or 15 players on Sunday, everyone playing at their best. They don't comprehend that there are a lot of bad shots out there.
God, there's probably a handful that come to mind right now, but I'll go with one of the more recent ones. At the Honda, actually, when I finished second, I hit a shot Sunday. The third hole is a par 5, and I hit a great drive, and I've got 3-wood in, but the wind's in my face, and I've got like 270 to a back left. But I've got 240 to the front, so I thought if I can get it kind of on the front part of the green or in that front bunker, it's a pretty good spot. But I'm trying to kind of like put it back in my stance and hit down on it a little bit and kind of hit like a little trap draw. Well, I hit like probably a good 3 inches behind the ball, and it goes like dead right and like probably 180 yards into the trees. So like, I mean, it's like just this like little poof like shot to the right. And I'm like right in the middle of the trees, and I was really fortunate to have a shot and chipped out and made par. But it was like one of those shots where you kind of pull your hat over your face and like hope that no one saw it. But it was like, oh my God, like what have I just done? It was brutal.
All right, you got to be careful with the next one. Favorite sport team.
Favorite sport team. Well, I know what everyone wants to hear, but yeah, it is the Toronto Maple Leafs. And that won't be changed by your. I know your faithful viewership is Montreal Canadiens fans, but go Leafs.
Okay. Do you think Olympic golf should be a team event?
That's a great question. No. I think it's got team atmosphere enough already as like if I go there as a duo with say Corey and myself, I still feel like I'm part of a team representing Canada, but we're doing our own battle.
Okay.
Like I don't think it should come down to like a alternate shot format or anything like that. It's just I think it's more pure golf when it's those individuals out there playing for their country.
All right, last one. The swing you wish you had.
Gosh. Well, the one that comes to mind is Rory McIlroy. But as I thought about that answer, I thought, well, I'm gonna go with McIlroy.
McIlroy. What's the putter behind your head? What is that? The winning putter? Or?
So I actually I got the winning putter down. I'm gonna move a little bit, but
okay.
This is actually a putter here. So it's Price Putter Championship in 2016. It's a gold putter. Let me see that. So I've actually got 2 more right there, and then I have my RSM one just over there. Get that one. It's right here.
Very nice.
So pretty cool that Ping does that for their players when they win.
Yeah, that's very cool. Well, Bud, I can't thank you enough. Thanks for participating. Thanks for answering all my questions. I wish you nothing but the best, and hopefully the season resumes and it's not too chaotic out there for you guys. And I'll see you down the road.
You got it, Johan. Thanks for having me. I'll see you soon, buddy.
Hey, you're very welcome. Thank you.
Okay, cheers, buddy.